September 29th, 2016. I'm listening to Be Thou Humble, was the title of the address given by Elder Stephen E. Snow of the 70. And he shares a story about how their son had a head injury and was in a coma. And when he started to regain consciousness, they immediately started thinking, oh, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be okay. The recovery was a lot longer than what they expected. I guess they figured that their prayers would be enough. I mean, yes, miracles can happen by our faith and humility, but I think that's what they were expecting, was a miracle. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. It's not the Lord's will. But he also shared the humility their son gained through the experience and through his recovery. He also he mentioned, and this is what stuck out to me, that, being parents, like, we don't help our children stay humble throughout their childhood, adolescent, and into their adult years by getting upset with them and responding with anger, but responding with humility and love and patience. I mentioned this yesterday when I was listening to the Healing Ointment of Forgiveness, how forgiveness is kind of the first step to humility. However, humility is the first step to forgiveness. It really is. So I'm kind of taking that back from what I said. But humility is really the first step to us accepting Jesus Christ as our Savior, and putting off the natural man. And it is better, as Alma says, to choose to be humble rather than be compelled to be humble. So we've definitely had some situations in our life where we've kind of been compelled to be humbled by some of our situations. We talk about how our life is so good and we're blessed with this and that, and then, not long after, the Savior kind of blesses us with trials. So we've kind of just decided not to be pessimistic, but to realize that there will always be trials, no matter what. And boasting in our own successes is not the way to be humble. So, that's my thoughts this morning, September 29th, 2016. Alright, September 29th, 2016. Finishing up my thoughts for today, listening to Elder Renlund's talk. He starts off by, I remember this talk, he starts off by talking about how the greater distance between a giver and a receiver of a gift, the greater sense of entitlement the receiver has to that gift. In other words, there's less appreciation from the receiver when there's a greater distance, and the distance being the relationship. So if my relationship to my Savior is very far distant and I don't feel a closeness to Him, I feel more entitled to everything I have, that it's mine, my own, rather than being appreciative of the gifts that has been given to me. So there's that distance between me and the Savior, and then that sense of entitlement that all things are mine, rather than realizing that all things are the Savior's and He's blessed me with them. So the Savior has sacrificed himself and blessed us with the atonement so that he can draw all of us unto him, and realize that we are reliant on him for everything, and that we're all equal recipients of that salvation. So those are my thoughts today, finishing up my thoughts today on that. September 29th, 2016.